all of a sudden the guy's fucking nose ring pops out, right?
Yeah.
And then his shirt starts to lift because he has nipple piercings. When his little dick raises up, and he's like, oh! And he gets fucking pulled into the
Prince
MRI.
Albert?
Yeah, he gets pulled into the MRI machine and fucking folded backwards. Right. I was like, that's
Hilarious.
pretty fucking metal. Greetings, friends! Welcome back to another New Movie Monday here on the Messed Up Movies Podcast. We are here today to talk about Final Destination Bloodlines, a long-awaited new installment in the franchise. So before we get started, a little bit of business. Everyone, please go to the Messed Up Movies Podcast Patreon page. That's the best way to support the show. You get a vote on exclusive episodes. We have a Black Mirror miniseries. We have a Tales from the Crypt miniseries that are going. Lots of fun stuff over there. We work hard to make that worth your time. 5-star ratings and reviews. We're on all the socials you're on. We have Misfit Parade YouTube. Do all that. Subscribe. Send shorts. The biggest thing we can ask of you, send an episode, a short, a TikTok, whatever, to a movie-loving friend, and we will take it from there. Another bit of business. Heath, we have some very exciting stuff on the horizon here at Misfit Parade. Would you like to take it away?
So exciting. I'm sweating like a member at the 1960s Space Needle running around in a fire.
Right.
Woo! I was just outside playing a little soccer match.
Yeah, my kid took him in the deep waters of backyard soccer.
Anyway, a great day of shooting. So we are gearing up, ladies and gentlemen. The Mr. Cream Jeans Hidey Hole crowdfunding campaign is coming your way in less than a month now.
Oh my God, yeah, it's coming up fast. So we did the crowdfunding video today. It's an interesting one that we think will capture your attention. That was the plan. So is there somewhere that they can go
Yes.
to get hooked up early and be alerted to everything with the Indiegogo campaign that is on the way?
There is. Okay, everybody get your stationery out. Start taking notes right now because this is a bit of a lengthy URL. misfitparade.com/Mr. Cream Jeans. That's all one word, Mr. Cream Jeans.
That's
no
right.
punctuation. misfitparade.com/Mr. Cream Jeans. Check it out and sign up for updates. We'll let you know the first day that the crowdfunding campaign launches. That is extremely important because if we get as many people as possible to donate, it doesn't matter if you donate $1.
Yeah.
It helps trigger the Indiegogo algorithm, gets us on the front page, and makes our Misfit Parade messed up movies dreams hopefully come true.
Yes, I think we have a very reachable goal. We're about a little under halfway done with the movie. So this will help get us across the line. Today was an exceptionally fun day. It was the first day I got to adorn the full Mr. Cream Jeans character and attire. It was a fucking blast. I'm so excited for you guys to see what we're working on. We have lots of cool perks.
If you want to see Griffey adorning a black miniskirt in fishnets.
Yeah. Mesh shirt. That was very weird. I was like, how do people with nipple piercings always wear these? That seems...
We're going to talk about nipple piercings.
Yeah, we've got a lot of nipple piercing talk. So again, we're here today to talk about Final Destination, not just Final Destination. There's only one destination for us all. Bloodlines, right? Again, go find misfitparade.com/Mr. Cream Jeans. Very important. Also, go to the theater and see Final Destination Bloodlines, right? Very important that you go support new horror movies. I'm assuming this one's going to do very well this weekend. We went to see it Thursday. We took the kids. My kids' favorite horror movie franchises are Hell House LLC and Final Destination. They fucking love the setup of this franchise, right? Which is someone has a premonition, they save a bunch of people, and then death comes for them in shockingly elaborate ways. Like, death feels like a little bit of a catty schoolgirl bitch a lot in these movies. I will say Final Destination 1 and 2, great. Classics, right? 3, all right, we're teetering a little bit. 4 and 5 were the fucking pits.
I have not seen anything past
By the
2.
time we got to the Final Destination Part 5, the one that happens on the bridge, you're like, oh my God, we're done. We'll never get a good Final Destination again.
Which one is the roller coaster? The amusement
That's
park?
3.
3.
That was a 3D one.
Oh, that's right.
And it was not great, but it was still okay. Part 4, that was the race car track. Good opening. The rest of the movie stunk.
Which one was just the Final Destination?
That was the 5th one.
The 5th one, all right.
That was the one where they survive a bridge collapse. It's fucking horrendous. It's so bad that I honestly was like, I don't know if there's anything left to do. What I'll say for Final Destination Bloodlines, They just went back to basics, right? They went back to what really makes this work. Incredible opening set piece that's set in the distant past, right? Then we cut to the future.
1960s.
Yeah, right? Well, to us, that's like fucking 60 years, dude. That's an old motherfucker away. So they went back to what works, right? Incredible opening set piece that sets the tone. This one is different because it jumps into our timeline now.
Right.
And Death is now pursuing this family, right? So here's the actual synopsis. Let's get some details, right? Death runs in the family. Plagued by a violent recurring nightmare, college student Stephanie heads home to track down the one person who might be able to break the cycle and save her family from the grisly demise that inevitably awaits them all, right? This was directed by Zach Lipovsky and Adam B. Stein. Personal note, a friend of mine who I love very dearly, right? Dave Coggeshall, first baseman for the Spoilers. Spoilers, fucking legend. One of the greatest guys I've ever known. He's a writer in Hollywood, right? He wrote Orphan First Kill. Mm-hmm. I was on a softball team with him, and through that got to meet his incredible wife. She's so fucking funny and cool. She has some of the greatest fucking segments ever written in the history of 1,000 Ways to Die. So I worked with Dave on 1,000 Ways to Die on Spike TV.
That's adding up. I was thinking about that show. I thought, Griffey, you could have been on this writer's room.
So I wrote on it for a season, right? Yeah. I came in after his wife, Lori, left for greener pastures. And Dave would tell us what his wife had written, and we're like, holy shit, dude, we got big shoes to fill. One of the kills, if Lori hears this, one of the kills in this movie, one of the sections, not a kill, but a section, I was like, that sounds an awful lot like the Chainus sketch that I'm pretty sure Lori wrote. So Lori...
Probably few people more qualified to write a Final Destination movie.
Like, what a great connection to go from 1,000 Ways to Die to that. And so seeing Lori write this movie and it be so fucking awesome, congrats to her. Love the Coggeshall family. Wonderful fucking people. So very cool, right? And also, it's hard, man, because when you know someone who works on it, you're like, man, I hope this is good so I don't have to shit on it on the pod. I must say, the kids fucking loved it. I walked out and I was like, this movie just gets what the Final Destination franchise is. And it's not, I don't want this to sound like a criticism. It's not doing too much. It's not too heady. It sets up really great fucking gags. And it's really fucking funny.
It's funny.
And that's the best way these movies exist.
Pure entertainment.
Pure entertainment.
Just from start to finish, every little twist and turn. It never, to me, it never sagged. Anytime that you got to that point in the story where you're like, okay, we need a kill, it was right there. And in very satisfying ways that it unfolds. And constantly messing with your expectations.
Yes.
It taps into paranoia great. But it still keeps it light. I mean, like you said, it's funny. I read it mostly as a comedy.
This one is the one that to me pushes the furthest the pendulum towards comedy.
Yeah.
And I think that's a great fucking choice.
But even the first one has hilarious moments. I mean,
oh yeah.
You know, Sean William Scott getting his head sliced by what was it? Like
a stop sign that gets under the train.
And,
fucking great.
What's her name? The Saving Silverman chick, the cheerleader who gets smashed by the bus. Like one of the most famous kills.
They fucking played that. Yeah, they riffed that on this one.
Lots of great callbacks and references to prior installments of the franchise. I thought in ways that were fun little Easter eggs that were a nice wink without distracting you from what was going on in this iteration.
Yeah, and if you had never seen a Final Destination movie, it wouldn't fucking matter. This sells the exact... I think that's the hardest thing in sequels. Is how do you make them movies that you don't need all the homework before? This is a perfect example. I hearken back to like the barbecue scene in the backyard, right? Mm-hmm. Classic Final Destination. Here's 6 or 7 things to focus on.
Yes.
Which one's going to be the kill? And at the end, you're like, that's not the one I thought. Also, because that's not how fucking lawnmowers work. As a guy who has to mow his own yard all the time. But it was just fucking great. It was so great. But let's start here. Mm-hmm. The big difference in this one, the big addition to the franchise mythology in this one, right, is that this woman, as we start off with the horrifying, in this one we actually see everyone die, and then we time jump before they save everyone, right, which is a little different from the franchise. This one starts off in the 60s, and now death is coming back in our modern time. So this is when this woman saved these people... Somehow, Death is such a fucking lazy bitch. His schedule is too fucking full, right? He can't get to these people for 60 fucking years. That seems a little bit
No, hold on.
wild.
That's explained. That's explained
right,
in
because
the
this
film.
one old lady lives in the worst, most terrifying house of all time.
But not only that, I mean, death has a lot of work to do. I mean, there are a lot of people to get through, and there's a chronology to it.
Yeah.
So the oldest person has to go first, and it
yes,
takes
and then
down
it works
from there.
its way down the family trees.
Right.
This is always a thing you have to forgive the Final Destination franchise, because it's like, is Death just phoning it in with cancer and drunk drivers? Like, and then he's like, this one, he's like feeling uninspired, and he's like, this will be my fucking magnum opus. And he really writes the shit out of these deaths, right? But what I like is this new edition of the time jump, I thought was really cool. I was a little worried about when I read the premise of this, where I was like, how does that fucking work? All right, how does this grandma... And again... We'll get to Grandma's house, because that's the one insane thing in the movie. It's like, why does she live in the same house as the grandma from Ernest Scared Stupid?
You know, there was a lot that reminded me of 2018 Halloween.
Yeah.
With Jamie Lee Curtis and the way they set up that whole legacy. Kind of doing a similar beat here with the grandmother holding herself up, making her daughters paranoid. You know, you constantly have to watch your back. Pretty much the same beats going on there, but I don't know. I didn't mind it.
Well, they did this with Allie Larder in part 2, where she essentially lives in a padded room.
Yeah, that's right.
And that protects her. And I was like, that I mostly buy.
Yeah.
Where we find the grandma in this movie is the most Mad Maxed, horrifying house ever. Because I was like, you have like hubcaps as wind chimes on like dead trees and shit. I was like, when you went to tie that up, Death would have got you there. What if this is because they're like, we reinforced the yard to make... I was like, what? They're just a strong wind. We'll send 18 things in there to fucking stab you to death.
I know that even this was something that your kids picked up on. That we're like,
yeah, my son leaned over to you and he goes, what the hell is this house?
That's the most dangerous house you could imagine.
It's the scariest place of all time.
But what if, just to play devil's advocate,
okay,
the old lady knew that that wasn't going to be satisfying enough for Death. That was too easy for Death. So she surrounds herself with anything that could possibly kill her.
She's treating Death like a cuck.
Reverse psychology, baby.
That could be. And then she's like, yeah, try to get me with houseplants and ropes, bitch. Because, yeah, Death's even trying to, like, fucking smoke that little rope. And I was like, he must be doing that shit all the fucking time. Like, anything in a house can just kill you. So maybe there is something, too, that's not grandiose enough for the woman that stopped the massacre. Because after her, there's her lineage of all these people that shouldn't exist. And then JB, the great Tony Todd. So we should also pause here. I did not realize, I guess, how sickly Tony Todd was looking at the end.
Yeah.
It was fucking rough to watch that. Because to me, Candyman is like top 5 best horror movie performances ever. Purely iconic, the voice, whatever. If you ever got to meet him at a convention, the fucking sweetest, coolest guy. Like, really lived up to what you hoped he would be. So it was a really bittersweet moment to see him come in and just fucking crush this monologue about, I know it's my fucking time.
Yeah.
I gotta go. He turns back and he's like, you know, he gives like a fucking
It really was beautiful in a movie.
Oh, dude, I was crying in the theater.
Yeah.
I was like really fucking choked up watching that.
Right. So in a testament to his performance and just his gravitas and his legacy to be able to do that in a movie that is pretty silly.
Because he's been in these. Yeah, he's always in there. I love how they tied him to this kind of origin event, and that's how he knew shit that he'd been giving people for this whole franchise, right? But there is a part of you when you hear, one of the last times I'm going to see Tony Todd is the 6th Final Destination movie. You're like, oh, man. And for this movie to be good and him to crush
it was good.
Was such a beautiful fucking send-off. That warmed my heart. So let's jump back. We've kind of been all over the place. Walk me through what you thought is this opening scene unfurl. Because the opening scene is essentially a date that's going to turn into a proposal at what looks like the Seattle Space Needle, right? It's a swanky dining and dancing place. It's kind of like a fucking Wish.com Last Night in Soho setup.
Yeah.
Dancing around. I thought this was so beautifully executed. I honestly think you can stack this opening inciting incident up against anything in the franchise. This might be the best opening in any Final Destination movie.
I have to say, it has been a long time since I've seen a Final Destination movie, and my assumption was that the recipe got quite diluted as, you know, over time since the first one. So
because everyone talks about the highway, like that one's burned into people's like memories.
Sure. But still, even by the time we got to that, now I appreciate that one much more. But I remember loving the original, the very first one. I thought that was just pitch perfect, the greatest mix of, horror and comedy and thrills. And I was the perfect age when I saw it. I was in high school. So that one worked perfectly for me. And then I felt like by the time we got to the sequel, and again, back then, sequels were sort of always, God, this makes me feel so old, but it's true, a lesser, watered-down version of the original, kind of a cash grab.
If you think back to, 80s horror, there were a couple that snuck through, but most always a sequel was like
It just always felt a little cynical.
It always felt cynical. It always felt like they turned it around super fucking fast.
That's the other thing. Yeah.
And so, they always felt a little shittier.
Right.
And I thought Final Destination has one of the better part 2s ever, right? And then
it does.
The franchise starts sagging and sagging and
So
sagging.
anyway, that's a long wind-up just to say my expectations were very low, and I wasn't expecting it to take its time in this prologue, which was really great. And what this movie did over and over and over again, and it sets the stage in the very beginning, is give you all these potential red herrings or clues to how it's all going to Rube Goldberg reveal itself.
Yeah.
And I love the intricacies of how clever it gets, how it looks for ways to show you a sleight of hand so you don't see what's maybe going on over here. Even Hunter, I was sitting next to your son Hunter, and he picked up on the Johnny Cash song Ring of Fire.
Yeah.
And he said, that's coming back. I know that.
Yeah, they love putting songs in there. Yeah.
And, you know it's coming. You don't know how it's going to show up. And the lady getting running by with the gas, it's just so over the top.
Yeah.
How they lay it all out. And it's just magnificent to see how it unfolds.
It's so... I couldn't believe when that started. Because it's like Space Needle, rich pricks, elevators overcrowded, glass dance floor.
Right.
If I have one umbrage with the movie is I was like, if I read in the paper that a glass dance floor broke and a bunch of people died, I'd be like, yeah, no shit. Why would you be dancing? Like when you see those fucking rich pricks, like those alpha male influencers that swim in like pools between buildings that are all see-through glass, I'm like, what the fuck are you doing? Like, why do you need to be thrilled all the fucking time?
Yeah.
But I thought this was cool, man. They had the kid throwing the penny.
Yeah.
Right? We saw the fucking beam that was rocking. And so what it wasn't this, the opening wasn't as much about like one thing that was going to happen. It really was a series of calamities. And you watch them go from like building section to build, like the rich maitre d' who was like, oh, you're not on the reservation, sorry. When he's trying to force his way in the elevator, he's like, I'm impotent. And it drops and fucking splits his ass.
It was such a great kill.
That was fucking wild, dude. The best moment in this to me was at the end when she's got the kid, right? And her fucking engagement ring catches on those like two fucking bits of rebar,
right? And
it skins her
And that was the whole point of the scene. Is her soon to be fiance takes her up to this. He's going to propose, in this very romantic setting, and he does and gives her the ring, and then that's how the scene ends.
And then a fantasy that everyone's had when you're at a too many white people wedding, and all the old people waddle out to the floor to do the shout song. They just fucking collapse and die, and you're like, wow, been thinking about that for decades, right? Like, love that fucking bit.
So many amazing
But man,
kills.
they just fucking go for it, man. This opening is a nonstop buffet of just fucking rad moments.
And I was thinking this throughout the whole movie, but especially in the beginning. Now, you complained a bit about the CGI when we left.
So this is my one complaint, which I do think is pretty prevalent through some of the later entries. The CG in this movie is fucking horrendous. Like, it is so cartoonishly bad. Like, if you don't agree with me, that's fine. Watch her falling onto the crab thing. There are Final Fantasy games that have better cutscenes than that. Or the end when they're running from the train looks so fucking bad.
It looks very fake, but I will say this. It was very cool to see this premise, this high concept play out in a huge scale.
That's the thing. None of these have been that big before, right? Like it feels
the set
gigantic.
Pieces are huge in this film.
Yes.
And actually the best set pieces to me were the smaller ones. The backyard, the hospital.
Oh, the best are the tattoo parlor and the MRI room. Those are the two best gags.
But still, it was really fun to see how big they could get with this.
And again, I don't think it matters. Like when I come out of a movie having this much fun, laughing, because I did sit there and I was like, wow, my kids are fucking 10 and 7. We're sitting there Thursday at 3, and I was like, I might have just won the worst dad in the universe award. Is that opening's happening? Because you're like, this one's going for it.
It was more gnarly than I.
You knew immediately. You're like, oh, fuck. And then, thank God, when she falls onto that crab statue, I was like, oh, thank God, that looks like shit. That'll give him a little bit of distance from it. And then the movie keeps going, and there are some shit in this movie that I really had to pause as a father and be like, am I making huge fucking mistakes right now? Like when Grandma gets her fucking face blown off. Again, it looks terrible.
Yeah.
But that doesn't stop the idea from entering your brain.
Sure.
You know what I mean? And I think that's bad CG is just kind of omnipresent in a way that we didn't think it would be, right? Like when we first saw Jurassic Park, you're like, that's going to be every fucking movie. We're never going to have movies or actors again because CG is going to be so good. And somehow it's just gotten worse.
Yeah.
Like I feel like
diminishing returns for sure.
Well, I feel like the average CG you'd see in movies now is worse than it was 20 years ago.
Yeah.
Because I think it's a problem of, so much work, so little pay, shops going under, right? Like that famous Life of Pi wins an Oscar, but they go bankrupt and close the studio.
Yeah.
Right? And so I think bad CG is just kind of a thing you've just come to accept and you get over, right? It's kind of like when you see a bad practical effect, but you forgive it because it's practical, right? But there are bad practical effects all the time that we don't bitch about. Yeah. And so, again, it's such a minor grievance in a great
critics
movie.
Used to bitch about it. Now it's charming.
Yeah, now it's just like, oh, okay. The gag still sells.
It's a novelty now.
Yeah, because Grandma's face looking stupid doesn't matter because Grandma got her fucking head blown off. Yeah. You know what I mean? That's all that fucking matters. But to your point, if we're kind of walking through the set pieces of this, right? To me, the barbecue is the best layout of a scene, right? So this is, they come back for Mom's funeral. She got her head blown off because when the girl goes and visits her, right? She lets her in and she's like, oh my God, like you're seeing the vision. I'm not crazy. Somehow decides I'm going to walk outside to give her this book after all this time, right? It's like a kind of a noble act in her last days, right? She's like, because that's the thing, you're sitting there as an audience member and you're like, I would have just let death killed me like 30 years ago. This seems fucking horrible. What is the point of living, right? If you're just going to live this life, like just fucking die. And this is what I said, though. This is my Final Destination defense plan. If I know that I've survived something that I shouldn't, I'm going to a brothel that's next to a drug dealer, and I'm just going to get high and bang. So whenever death comes for me, it can only do so many lubes or fucking candles. Like, I'm dying like Ricky Martin video style. You can't fucking get me in a place where I'm not at least pretty satisfied.
No, see, that's what I'm saying, man. That's the way you surround yourself with the most dangerous elements possible, and death is bored.
Yeah. Loose women and needle drugs. That's what I'm doing. I'm surrounding myself with that and candlelit orgies. That's it.
Can I ask a question, though?
Yeah.
You are more familiar with the franchise, and you've most recently gone back through all the movies with your kids. Mm-hmm. Are there any established rules about who sees the premonitions?
So there are not any specific reasons or rules why people see. It's always kind of this somehow, and I think it's part of the death being a little bitch where like they're getting too cute with it. And it, because this is the weird thing you always ask yourself watching the franchise is, does this death happen in kind of like the American Christian sense where like there is a God and he lets death do this, but death has a lot of leeway, and maybe if he's getting too fucking cute with it, God slides someone some cards to let him know. Because, you know, whether it's the first one or the roller coaster, there's never any rhyme or reason as to why these people see, right? And then once they save people, you're going to die no matter what. And then in one of the later sequels, they introduce the, I think that was part 5, the unbearable one. If you murder someone, you can escape
That
death.
was new to me.
So that's pretty much the only rule is like when there's no rhyme or reason to the premonitions, you can see them and kind of dodge shit. And then, but at the end of them, Devon Sawa at part 2, they're just like, he's dead.
Yeah.
Everyone fucking dies.
Right.
There's no getting away from it.
You can't get around it. Except if you kill someone else. Then.
And then, in the worst one ever, this guy's just like, cool, bro. And he just assaults a fucking fancy restaurant.
Okay, I didn't realize that had been previously established in one of the other films because I thought that was ripping off what they did in Smile. Because that's a rule in Smile, too.
Right. No, that was in the Final Destination, the 5th one. I think most fans were like, that kind of defeats the purpose. That's kind of stupid.
It did set up, I thought, a pretty clever joke when they're in the hospital and they look
That
over at the
was
nursery.
See, that to me felt like them saying, we know that part 5 was stupid, because they walk by and it's the two brothers and he's like, I gotta save you, right? And they're trying to come up with this very fucking elaborate
Right, they're trying to decide,
peanut allergy.
do they so the other rule is if you die and you're brought back, then
Yes.
you have in sense
So that had been in
defeated
the
death.
earlier movies as well.
So 2 options. You die, you get resurrected, then you have broken the chain.
If your heart stops, you technically died.
Yeah. Or
you can come back.
you buy time.
Yeah.
You can't escape, but you can buy time by killing someone else. And so
Or a living death like what Grandma in this movie's doing.
okay. So they're having this debate and they are in a hospital and they look over at a nursery and they actually think about which option is best.
Well, because that's the thing. They're like, well, who do we kill? What if they don't have much time left? And they both turn to the right. And they're by a nursery as they're rolling a baby in. And the guy who looks like Fallout Boy Tom Green.
No, he looks
just goes,
like... I saw the best tweet today. It said... It was a picture of this guy. And someone had tweeted that he stole the show. I kind of agree. I thought...
Oh, he by far was the best thing in the movie.
He was subtweeted... Bam Margera is born once a generation.
Dude, yeah. He was fucking great, but he looked over, he's like, and then the brother's like, no. And he has that like second, he's like, these babies probably got a lot of fucking ears.
Right?
That was fucking hilarious. Again, it's one of those moments you're like, this movie's not going to do that, right? Oh, thank God. And we all just laughed about it. But yeah, dude, fucking great. But again, I think they followed the basic rules, right? You're not going to get out. And that's the fun. We know these people are going to die. Everyone who goes into a room, even if you like the characters, right? And I would say that's not an abundant problem with this movie. This is a pretty off-putting group of people for almost the only one is I was like, well, the dad seems pretty fucking cool.
Right.
He's just kind of dealing with the 2 kids. His mom's out caravanning or whatever because she was traumatized as a child. And the uncle seems cool as shit. He's just like a classic dad. Everyone else seems pretty shitty, and like all the kids are fucking awful garbage people, it seems. So you're like, maybe not the youngest kid, but you're like, I don't really care if any of these die. The dad fucking rocked me, the barbecue dad, because he's also coming from his mom's funeral.
Yeah.
He invites his sister and he's like, maybe we'll fix this family. And he does this fucking really nice toast where, and that's the gag where they're falling around the glass in the cup, right? And anyone who's ever been in a bar, that happens all the time. You have to fucking shut that ice bin down, melt it all down, clean it out before you can do it again.
And that's one of the elaborate, they set the table.
Yes.
And they reference this in the next scene about, well, it's maybe 2 scenes later where is the next person in line going to die? And she actually spells it out. It could be those kids, she's not actually having a premonition, but she's just...
Because this is after the older kid survived the emo Fallout Boy Tom
because
Green.
he's next in the list, theoretically. We'll get to that because that was a pretty funny
Unbelievable
reveal.
fucking
But anyway,
scene.
the next scene, she's trying to game out and explain to him because he's like, I didn't die. You know, your theory is null and void. And how do you think we could die right now? And he's basically trying to defy, you know, the possibility that anything could go wrong and thumb his nose in it. So she's laying it out. She's like, the kids could, you know, hit the soccer ball in the wrong way. And like every single element that is observed in the area could be something that adds up to a new death. And that's really the formula that they're working with. And I thought that backyard scene did a great job of it too. You have the rake, you know, all of these red herrings.
And then but that scene, because then it's like, it's not him. His sister goes jogging. She's
That's
like,
the great thing.
I'm sick of your shit, bitch. And she gets dumped in the can.
The cleverness of it, how they play with the setup and what your expectations are.
Yeah.
And they lay it out,
Yeah.
and you think it's happening to the Bam Margera guy, and
Yeah.
it turns out to be the sister, and you're like, okay, that I wasn't expecting.
She got crushed and her face
That
pops.
was great.
That was another one of those. I was like, oh my God, oh my
That
God,
was
oh my
rough
God.
for your kids.
I was like, oh my God, I made a huge mistake. But it's great because the guy's like swiping on Tinder and he has his headphones in. They're just like, stop, fucking stop.
But
And
it set
her
up a
head
great-
fucking pops.
It set up a great joke, which I love because you're kind of using all of the buffalo, to borrow Brad Bird's term, on like, how do you utilize every element of the story that you've set up? And I think you're just leaving meat on the table if you don't use the opportunity to say, okay, we've set up who is next in line in this bloodline and who is chronologically going to be the next victim.
Right.
And it skips a person. Why? Because he was
He wasn't the real kid.
Yeah, he wasn't in the bloodline.
Fucking wild. Because the family casting in this one is head scratching to begin with.
It is.
This is the thing. He looks exactly like the fucking dad who dies.
Yes.
And they're like, you're the only one who's not his son. And I was like, no one looks like anyone in their family in this whole movie except for those two fucking guys. And he was the bastard. Because they're like, Jean Palinker, whatever his fucking name is. And I was like, are we going to do that? No, it's just a fucking hilarious throwaway bit. So fucking good. You know what's great about that too? So that guy lives, gives us the fucking next death, his sister's death as a gag, and gives us that joke, and fucking has the hilarious thing in the hospital. But he was the first kill sequence we saw. And what we did was a classic Final Destination where it's all these things, right? The nipple alcohol spills over. Fire starts. He gets fucking hooked by the chains that are too close to the ceiling fan. He's pulled up. He's balancing. Fucking hilarious. And again, I'm pretty sure Laurie wrote a sketch on 1,000 Ways to Die called The Chainus.
Yeah.
Which was about a guy who was into extreme body modification. He ate a chain, shit it out, and then connected it in the front, right? And that was like his extreme thing. Somehow he's running from robbers or something. He hides behind a fucking box in a warehouse, and a forklift gets him and lifts him up and essentially saws his whole fucking guts apart, right? And when I saw this movie, I was like, that reminds me an awful lot of the 1,000 Ways to Die. Chainus.
You know what? Just
that one's
right
so
in your
good.
grab bag.
I was like, that's fucking... Also, how many people remember that except for those of us who were on the show? Fucking great shit, right? And that I thought was a cool thing because we didn't see the death. We heard him scream, right? He puts his arm over, it gets fucking brand. He's like, ah!
Well, what
he's
was
on
also
fire.
Really fun, and I have to give tip of the cap to the marketing team because I actually went to the bathroom during that scene because I'd seen it. They had released that as a teaser. I just assumed that whole scene had been made specifically as a teaser, and it wasn't going to end up in the film. And
well, it's also great because it doesn't matter because he fucking lives.
And he lives, and that was so brilliant because I just assumed that this guy dies. So I'm like, I'm going to the bathroom to this scene, and I come back, and he's still alive. And I'm, wait, what did I miss? How is this possible?
It was like that fucking, what was it? What was the fucking beer movie we all watched?
The beer movie.
Where they did the beer Olympics.
Oh, the Broken Lizard movie?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I can't remember what it's called, but essentially Farva dies.
Right.
He's in that bat. He's like, and he's just drinking all the beer and he fucking dies. And then his brother comes in. He's like, hey, I'm his twin brother and I'm better at drinking. And if you could call me his name, that would make me feel more of the team. And then in the rest of the movie, it's like the character never fucking died. Yeah, Landfill. Fucking great movie. But this one was great because I was like, I'd never seen that in the franchise where you do a scene that gives you 90% of the value of the scene and then adds because this fucking character is not supposed to be there. And he ends up getting my favorite death in the movie.
It was so great.
In the
so
MRI
satisfying.
room. Yeah, he gets my favorite death because essentially he's going to save his younger brother who's next, right? His younger brother's allergic to peanuts. So we start with the vending machine. It's tipping. It's breaking. We don't know what's happening. They're going to go in a room. His brother starts swelling up because he's like, I'm going to eat this motherfucker. I don't want to eat dry peanuts. I want to eat peanut butter cups. He's like, oh, that's good. It's fucking great. These two had great fucking parlance with each other. He starts swelling up. And his brother's holding the EpiPen. He's like, oh, they inadvertently triggered this fucking MRI machine to like 7,000%, which I don't even know if that's a thing.
Yeah.
But shit starts flying over there, right? And the brother's like fucking trying to get his EpiPen. But all of a sudden, the guy's fucking nose ring pops out, right?
Yeah.
And then his shirt starts to lift because he has nipple piercings. When his little dick raises up, and he's like, oh! And he gets fucking pulled into the
Prince
MRI.
Albert?
Yeah, he gets pulled into the MRI machine and fucking folded backwards. Right. I was like, that's
Hilarious.
pretty fucking metal. And then the vending machine spring
Yeah.
hits his brother in the head.
Great callback.
And like fucking spirals into the machine and his head slices in half and he falls down. I was like, holy shit, that was such a satisfying and beautifully laid out death.
Yes, it's so elaborate. And even you could take this all the way back to the very opening shot of the movie with the train tracks. That shows back up.
And the fucking
end.
penny. The penny derails the fucking train at the end, which causes probably the dumbest part of the movie.
The way they laid this out, I mean, you really have to give it to them.
Because this is the thing. Everyone can come up with a cool death. The thing in Final Destination is you have to have a great death and work back like 10 steps.
The calculus involved in all of this.
Because it's easy to say, a guy with chainsaw hits a guy with a dick, right? And you're like, yeah, that'll be fun to watch. We don't like that, right? We come up with deaths all the time in our movies. That's hard enough. Then you have to work back and be like, what evidence do I set?
Yeah.
What setting am I in? What are the things you can play with? This one does those setups as well as any movie in the franchise.
So
Again, I would put this smack dab in the middle. I think it goes 1, 2, this, then 3, 4, 5, right? I'd put it right in the fucking middle, but it's so fucking well done. So it's brilliantly constructed.
What do you think 1 and 2 had that this one doesn't?
Well, I think 1 and 2 had more of the actual fear of death, right? Like this horror. It's one of those things I always joke that It's a Wonderful Life is the scariest fucking movie ever. Because imagine you just have a shitty job, a shitty family, they're abusing you, your kids fucking suck, they're driving you nuts, and you're like, and now my fucking idiot uncle, because he puts rubber bands on his fingers, gave all the money to old man Potter, and I'm fucking cooked. And he's like, you know what? Not today, life. I'm gonna go jump in that fucking icy water and have sweet fucking rest and relief. And God's like, no, I'm actually going to drag you through a whore show of how everything in Pottersville turns into whorehouse and brothels, and your wife's miserable, and there's no kids, and your brother's dead. It's fucking horrifying, right? So scary. Even though Pottersville looks way more like a place you would go party at than fucking Bedford Falls.
I've always wanted to go to Pottersville.
Yeah, Pottersville, way fucking cooler. I think George Bailey should have fucking jumped off that bridge. The problem is he walks through this fucking nightmarish horror show where God's like, you have to exist to just be punished in this Job style. And then he goes back to his shitty house and everyone comes over and throws some fucking ones in a laundry basket. And he's like, we're saved. And I was like, that movie ends. The next day he wakes up and he's like, fuck, we only made $237. Uncle Billy lost $5,000. He's going to jail.
Yeah.
Like, he's going to jail. And this guy knows that he can't even fucking kill himself because God wants him there for his fucking childish amusement. And at the end when he's like, oh, an angel got his wings, he's fucking terrified. That man's life is ruined. That man never has a good night of sleep or a happy day the rest of his life. He's always looking at the fucking clouds, praying for this movie to happen to him.
Yeah.
But that's one of those, it's so fucking scary because this powerful hand of God is like, no, your misery is on purpose and I fucking did it to you.
Sure.
And so it's really scary. And old-timey people are like, look at that lesson. You're like, no, bitch, you took the wrong lesson. 1 and 2 have a real fucking, like, part 2 might be the second scariest movie moment behind just the entirety of Jaws.
You mean the highway scene?
Yeah, because everyone after Jaws, every time they get in an ocean, even if you're not a cinephile or you barely know about Jaws, you hear someone, pool, floating down a river, ocean, and people have that impending sense of killer sharks because of a movie.
It's connected to actual fears.
Yes.
Yeah.
And drive down highways, anytime there's a truck with logs, you see everyone leave because of that fucking movie.
And I have to be honest, there's not one flight that I've taken since I've seen Final Destination where I don't have some sort of...
I'm a terrible flyer, so I just assume it's all good. I always take 3 Tylenol PM and just get fucking drunk at the bar, and then my body's like...
There is always that moment where, you're sitting on the tarmac and the plane starts to move, and you have that scene play out in your head. And you're
first one had novelty of the concept, right? And it's the first time we saw the elaborate traps. It has the best cast, I think, of all of them.
The best performance. Devon Sawa's performance is so real.
And so that one was kind of hitting on all cylinders. The sequel had a lot of this. It deepened the mythology, and it was still pretty scary. The whole idea of, like, exploring more of what happened. So that's why I think those two are just above this one. And again, I don't think that's a knock for part 6 in a franchise. The well is running low. I think they put new life into this.
They did.
And they said, okay, we're not making the scariest, like, fucking biting kind of movies. Everyone knows. This is the other thing. Unlike almost any other franchise short of Friday the 13th, Final Destination feels like the most paint by numbers, right? Like, Final Destination and Friday the 13th are the two most predictable, least divergent kind of franchises.
And it has to
Maybe
be.
Saw, but Saw had some really fucking weird ones thrown in there.
Oh, yeah.
In the midst.
Saw goes a little crazy.
Yeah, and so I think that the fact that it's so pre-written, it's everywhere we go, we know everyone's going to die. You're looking at everything.
It's so high concept.
Paranormal activities like this, where it's just so pre-written, But to still fucking execute that is almost more impressive to me.
It's so impressive. I think that's been the challenge for Final Destination and why they've taken this decade-plus break.
Yeah.
Is because there's only so far you can stray with it.
Well, there's also a lot of younger people now
Yeah.
that probably don't have all that fucking baggage.
I did think it was clever how they retconned it. I was waiting for, the Legacy sequel thing where they are trying to fit a square peg in a round hole and bring up stuff from the first film that just kind of ruins the first movie. And they went so far back on this and broadened out the potential victims to a point where you could go down this branch and it doesn't need to interfere with anything that happened necessarily in the prior installment. So I thought that was really clever.
Well, the other idea of the bloodline thing is it makes you think that even if there are all these survivors of whatever, right? Like, we've all probably had a day somewhere where you're like, fuck, I was supposed to drive on that freeway. I was going to be at that movie theater. I was going to be somewhere where a bad thing happened, right? And I didn't. And then the idea that that could come after my grandkids, right? Like, this passing on of you beat the odds, but not really. Again, it's that George Bailey thing, right? Like, I do think those movies are fucking very intrinsically tied in a horrifying way. But that idea that even if I beat the odds, right, which feels like a gift from the universe, I do the right thing, I save all these people, now death is extra mad at me, and it's going to kill me. It's always fucking, like, fluids on the floor. It's always electrical fires and shit. It's fucking terrifying, right?
Death is kind of an interesting employee of the universe because pretty sloppy at his job, but he always finishes the job.
Not good at his job, right? Like, he's the guy who's putting, like...
But he's a closer.
Hey, can I have the numbers on last week's sales? And it's like, no, I don't need all the fucking gifts. You know what I mean? Like, just give me a fucking spreadsheet. I don't need all the gifts and fucking comedy bits. And that's what he does, because I was like, yeah, that old lady, she's been hiding in that house for 60 fucking years, right? And that's holding up your job. Make her bleed from her ass until she dies. Like, that happens every day to someone on planet Earth. You know what I mean? Yeah. What about, like, those fucking old oops, I fell buttons our grandmas had to wear? Like, she can't just fall and have a blood clot? Like, what are we doing? The fact that he won't do that, you gotta think that someone else in the universe is like, hey, Death, what the fuck is going on?
Well, that's that beat that I really love.
So our buddy Sam, who's been on this before, he was here before, and we're like, because I told you, I was like, there's no way Sam will like this movie.
Right.
Because his brain works in such a logical, machine-like way when he watches movies. And if you set something down, he can't get off of that path. And I said, did you like it? And he goes, no, it was fucking stupid. And I go, why? And the first thing he said is, he's like, Grandma should have had a heart attack. Like, this is dumb. And I was like, all right, but he doesn't have
because she's just
experience.
Eating out of, like, canned beans her whole life.
What if I fucking aneurysm? Like, anything can happen to anyone at any time. You can just fucking shut her heart off. She lives in a house, right? The house has electricity.
But the
what
whole
about
point of this
electrifier?
is not necessarily a death count. I mean, it is ultimately, but
but to him, he's like, if Death's job is to kill you, and he's got an order, why is he letting this old lady in the worst fucking place to be holed up defeat him for years?
I'm going to pull a contrarian Sam-ism right now.
There you go.
How do we know that's Death's job? What if Death's job...
This is my thing. What if there are no other gods? Like, we are Americans, so we watch everything, I think, in this kind of pre-presumed, or pre-assumed, whatever the fucking phrase is, Christian mind space, right? Even if you're not religious, we all grow up in these, like, Christian kind of, like, tropes all the time. You could just watch this movie and say there is no fucking God but death. And why does he have to hurry then? Why not fucking have some fun with it? Right. It does ask, why doesn't he have fun with all of us? Like, what if some people died the lamest deaths?
I always think of Cabin in the Woods, and I just think it's a brilliant film because our peril is for the entertainment of these godlike creatures. And that is what we're all doing. That was always the thing with Hitchcock. Like, he's constantly commenting on our voyeurism. Yeah. All of his movies are about that.
Well, and especially horror, like, one of the hip things to do in horror movies over the last decade or so is point the camera and the finger right at the audience watching and say, why the fuck do you like to watch this misery? Right. Like, tough horror movies love to fucking make us squirm and then say, you love this shit. You're exactly like that killer. You're like, well, no, I'm not. I'm sitting here fucking covered in popcorn grease and chock full of diet soda. Like, you know what I mean?
The only movie that did that in a convincing way to me is Funny Games. That actually made me feel kind of guilty about wanting it to go the way that I thought it was going.
Well, a lot of them do that. It's kind of like your friend who's like, I was going to stay home tonight. Now I'm 20 beers in, and that's your fault. I was like, oh, yeah, I came and dragged you pubes first to the bar, you fucking piece of shit.
But yeah, what if Death is just trying to entertain, a different audience?
Just hang out. But if he's just like, I got nothing but time.
Yeah.
You guys are all going to drop. I'll get to you when I get to you. That's fine. Yeah, I don't know. There was something about the bloodline. And I will say this. I thought it seemed impossible that I wouldn't be bothered by this. Not at all. I thought they fucking sold it great. There are moments, and I think this is just like the mechanics of anything where they're like, there's only one place we can go. Back to Grandma's murder shack.
Course.
And they're like, let's just pound through the gate in a bus. And I was like, what are we doing? Like, what you guys, again, they're traumatized by having seen everyone they love fucking brutally murdered.
You know what bugged me about that is I've just seen too many movies, I think. Too many horror films recently because you have so much overlap. To me, it was the climax in The Monkey.
Yeah.
And I'm like, okay, we're going back to that. I thought it was better than how The Monkey did it.
The Monkey fucking sucked balls. Everyone who liked The Monkey, I'm here to fucking fight with
The Monkey is also how elaborately can we
The Monkey is just
people.
fucking lame Final Destination.
Yeah.
Like, if The Monkey was a Final Destination movie, it'd probably be the 6th best one. It'd be better than the Final Destination. That's it.
Yeah.
Like, that was just
We
lame.
litigated The Monkey already.
Yeah, we already fought about the fucking monkey. Find it on the Messed Up Movies feed. What did you make? Because we knew how this was going to end, right? He fucking rips her out of the fucking van. And these movies love to do this. This goes all the way back to part 1 where they go on their trip finally.
You know it's not over.
You know it's not over because no one fucking cheats death. I will say, I loved the grandma picking up the penny. Mm-hmm. I love her trying to buy lemonade and it bounces down the stairs and it derails the train. Mm-hmm. Thought that was great. It felt so fucking disjointed and off with the end. And I was like, where are these fucking tracks? How far is this thing going? They're at prom, right? He's going to have a good night. The guy, the girl he's picking up, her dad's a doctor. He's like, well, he didn't really die. And we're like, we know, get to it. That's the one death in the movie that I was like, that's so fucking boring and uninventive.
I hear you. I forgive it though.
Because the trains stop and the logs fly over and squish them. And I was just like,
it felt, yeah. I mean,
I love the setup of the penny and the train.
It was a payoff to a setup that we got in the very first frame of the film.
Yeah, well, it's also the only scene that doesn't have that Rube Goldberg setup, right? Because it's literally just, we know it's going to be a train. Oh, it's logs. And you're like, well, it's still train-ish.
But by that point, to me, the movie is over.
It is over.
We are just kind of...
Well, pause on that then. What do you make of this franchise always saying... Everyone's just gonna die. Like there's not one of these where you're like, they did it.
Those are all my favorite slasher films.
You're just into it. There is something to be said. You're never going to beat death. Even if you win today, you're going to drop dead at some point. Yeah. And none of us know how much time we have. So I get it. I thought this one, especially for how cleverly everything was laid out, I thought that just felt like kind of rushed. But I loved the paying off the penny. So I was with it and I was like, yes. I wanted something else to get him that wasn't attack. Like the train sends him running and then something happens.
I know, but do you want to extend it by how much? 10 minutes? 15 minutes?
You don't need, no. I mean, fucking 2 minutes, 3 minutes.
Okay. Well.
Set up the date. They're doing pictures somewhere. There's this. And she's like, I don't know. I sell stuff. And they're like, but we defeated death. She's like, I don't know. Oh, is that dog pooping by a fucking mailman? Oh,
I appreciated it.
I just wrote a worse version of the movie in my head.
Yeah. I mean, look, you had to get out of
Lori's sitting there like, you fucking cock.
You had paid off everything that you set up and then just get out. Just get out.
I mean, again, by the time they splatter...
You have a train running through a neighborhood.
Yeah.
Come on.
It's kind of just a moment where you're like, hey, all right.
Exactly.
And then we're on our way to it's Mazel. I think that's the only thing, is that ending going back to Grandma's just seemed... kind of silly. Like, it didn't make sense. Like, you have the book of death. Like, you have the thing. You're seeing the signs. Like, we can do something more. That and the train mixed together, it felt like it ran out of steam in a way that...
It did a little, but I didn't mind the decision for them, because they're running out of ideas. They've tried a lot of shit.
I mean, that's an absolutely fair point. What do you fucking do?
And I think the theory is, okay, Grandma made it.
Well, to your point, it's the Halloween thing. Go to survivalist Granny's house.
Exactly.
She's got to have shit for all this.
Well, and how long did she make it? So, in theory... If we go back
a fair point.
maybe that's the key to extend this. They know they can't beat it. They're just trying to extend it. And
when mom's like, I'll go and protect you guys, I was like, let her go.
Yeah.
Let that bitch go. She hasn't been there. Like, take it as a guy whose dad left. I'd be like, yeah, go die. Get the fuck out of here. I'm going to go fucking find the orgies and brothels. Like, go fucking, yeah, I don't care. That was weird. They threw in some family tensions that I didn't quite latch onto. But again, I will say, for how much I didn't get the family or like the characters, the cast was really up for this movie.
Oh, yeah.
I thought the cast was really fucking good. They were strong.
A little confused, and this is just a very superficial, horrible thing to say, but I have to admit, how old was the primary character? She was in college? What was her name?
So Stephanie was 20. What, you're out of college by the time you're 23-ish?
Yeah, I thought she was 43.
The main actress?
Yes.
Wow, damn. See, I didn't get that at all.
Okay. But I thought it really stood out in that prom scene at the end because it looked like she was her brother's mom taking him to prom.
Oh, shit. Well, okay. Yeah, I mean, the biggest thing for me was the opening. It's like the two whitest white people. And then I was like,
right.
What? I was like, why are their grandchildren Latino?
Were they were not Latino, though. They were Asian.
Reyes?
Is it Reyes was the...
I think it was Stephanie Reyes. And then the dad looked Asian to me. Yeah. And then the younger son looked Asian to me.
Right.
But they're Reyes. And I was like, the grandparents are the whitest fucking whites. Like Happy Days whites. And I was like, did I miss something? And then I was like, who fucking cares?
Who cares?
Who fucking cares?
Exactly.
It was great.
Yeah.
It was great. It was fucking fun, man. I thought the cast was incredible. Loved it. I thought it was a fucking this is a solid 3.5 out of 5 for me.
Yeah.
This is something people say all the time that bothers me. And they're like, oh, it's like a candy movie. Like, turn your brain off and enjoy. That is something people say so much about movies that do not deserve that credit. This is exactly that movie. Because it's turn your brain off, empty calories, but done really fucking well.
Now, I have to admit, as much as I loved it, I don't need another one of these in the next year or two. We can take a little time off.
If they were like this, I think that's the thing. Final Destination to me, I think you're kind of looking at franchises that mostly deliver on what you want regularly. I would put Final Destination pretty high. This is the 6th movie now. I'd say 5 out of 6 of them I got exactly what I wanted out of the experience. That's pretty fucking good batting average.
It is.
And if another one's coming out, I know my kids are going to be like, dude, we should go to Final Destination. And I'll be there. Fucking
all I'm saying is I think this film was very well served for the time that it took off. Mm-hmm. And let its...
And this one having such a different setup than the others. Yeah. While still feeling the same. It is one of those you're like, man, every time you go back to that well is harder and harder. This one really... excelled. They did a great job of really breaking down where the gaps were and finding a really cool lane to get through this one. Mm-hmm. I don't know what the next lane is. Like, do you do a Final Destination in like Nam? Like, I don't know.
I mean, go the Predator route where it's just you put Final Destination in any kind of timeline.
Why not?
That's sort of interesting.
I mean, you could do it anywhere. Yeah, do it in like fucking Pioneer times. Do it in the fucking Salem witch trials. Like,
what if they took actual historical events like Titanic,
the Hindenburg, right?
Yeah.
Like whatever, like do something. I mean, because that's the thing. This, like, I don't know what, because that's the other thing. It does get to the point like when Death was spilling the nipple alcohol. I was like, this motherfucker loves to tip over unopened jars. I was like, every jar in my house, squeeze the shit out of that. Probably from this franchise. My wife's always like, I can't open anything. It's like, well, I fucking watch Final Destination. You're not spilling my fucking motor oil in the garage. Yeah, Death needs some new tricks, but I thought they gave them to him in this movie. I thought they were really good.
Oh, for sure.
All right, so before we do messed up moments, what are your 3 favorite set pieces or kills in the movie? Probably just kills, not whole set pieces.
I have to immediately go to the MRI.
MRI was number 1 for me. So good.
Even though it was so over the top. But by that point...
I'm in on over the top. And it also felt like when he folded, it looked like a little more practical. Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. Whereas when the spring comes in, you're like, oh, we're back to CGI again.
I thought the scariest was the trash compactor.
Dude, that was fucking hardcore. Because I honestly thought she was getting out of there.
Yeah.
Like, I thought she was getting out. And the fact that it was just her fucking head.
Yeah. Yeah.
And not a kill, but the moment when her finger gets degloved, that is one of the fucking best like horror movie images I've seen this year. That her hope for a future she'll never had held her up for a moment, and then
That's pretty messed up.
that was fucking incredible.
I think you have to give the crown to that opening set piece. It just set
that
the
opening
stage.
scene.
It was
again, I think it's as good as the highway. I think it's better than the plane.
It drives me nuts. I can see it a mile away. Everything that's shot on a volume now, like the volume is supposed to make it look and feel more realistic, and it just doesn't. It's just that much more heightened. Obviously, that was all shot on a volume, but
See, I don't even know what the fuck that means.
That, but you know, it's just CGI. But at the same time, the writing of it, the way it was really well directed film too.
Very well directed. Like to your point, this movie never fucking sags.
And you're never confused about the orientation. As much work as they're doing with all of these characters and all of these other things that need to happen around the characters, extremely underrated on the directors of a Final Destination movie, particularly this one, that have to balance so many different elements to make these set pieces
and points of views and just geography.
Like, exactly.
Fucking
geography.
hell, dude. That's insane. All right. So fucking great movie. We loved it. But what was the most messed up moment in Final Destination Bloodlines?
The most messed up moment. You know, honestly, it might have been that, you know, the reveal that the reason that you're still alive is because you weren't your dad's kid.
That was a good. So I thought we were gonna do like dad in the lawnmower or whatever. No, just the fact that your dad dies, your sister dies, and it's like, and I was fucking this guy you hate.
Yeah, exactly. But see, you're still alive.
I was gonna say my favorite messed up moment in this movie. That has a lot of messed up moments, but the one you don't see coming, which doesn't even happen, but what's fucking hilarious, was when they paused and looked at the newborns.
Yes.
Like, man, we kill a couple of these newborns. We're going to live. That was fucking hilariously executed.
So good.
Because, like, the penis in the MRI, that was funny, right? The dad's lawnmower, that was really fucking sad. That might have been it, but that fucking baby joke was just A+ perfect. Fucking loved it. But again, really funny, incredible fucking set pieces, and got back to kind of, you know, this logic of us versus death in a really honed in way, which I appreciate in this. It's just the writing's tight. It's fucking funny. The kills are very fucking creative. And it has probably the best opening sequence in the franchise. Like, that's enough.
We've been on a real winning streak lately with movies.
Yeah.
It feels like one of the best.
That January doldrum, right? Where we're just like, oh, fucking hell. We're getting some good ones now. And we've got some ones that I'm really fucking pumped about coming up.
What's next?
So there's a new Fear Street coming out. That's right. A big one, right? So there's a lot of movies there's that weird one, The Weeknd's in. That I never
tomorrow.
Yeah, I've seen the trailer 50 fucking times and have no idea what the movie's about and what the trailer is. But there's a lot of cool shit coming out. We're getting a new I Know What You Did Last Summer movie.
Oh, that looks terrible.
Well, the first one was fucking terrible.
What?
So I
rewatched your tongue.
So we're covering it in July for our fucking summer thing, and I said what I find fascinating about this movie is that it's objectively bad and objectively makes the wrong decision at every turn, but is so unfucking believably watchable. And that I've seen it at least 10 times, and I fucking hate it every time. But if anyone says, hey, we should watch I Know What You Did Last Summer, I go, yeah, we should do that. Right? Like, I have no idea. Like, I would never just eat a turd.
I think that's a poorly written film with a really good director. I can't remember who directed it, but I think it's very well directed.
Well, it also had, like, all the hottest kids of the era.
Yeah, of course.
So, like, I saw it young, and I was like, nice. And then as a grown-up, you're like, what the fuck? But I love it. I can't get enough of it, even though I can say it's objectively makes the wrong choice.
The new one, I don't know. I'm willing to be surprised.
I think it's just a straight up remake. I don't even think it's tied to the last one.
It is. No, Jennifer Love Hewitt's in it.
Oh, is it? Because
they ran the trailer.
So Dandino said they approached Sarah Michelle Gellar about reprising her role, and she's like, I fucking died in the first one. Yeah. Which I fucking loved. But yeah, man, Final Destination is back in a big fucking way. Go make it a huge success at the theater, man. Congrats to all involved. This is exactly what I want from my summerish fucking horror movie.
Absolutely.
This was a fucking blast. Again, go to Messed Up Movies Patreon. That's the best way to support the show. That means the world to us, guys. Let your friends know. 5-star ratings and reviews. Misfit Parade on YouTube. But most importantly,
Don't forget.
get ahead of the curve on the Indiegogo, which will be dropping for Mr. Cream Jeans in just weeks.
That's right. So make sure you sign up at misfitparade.com
Yes.
/Mr. Cream Jeans to do the sign up for notifications on when this campaign drops and
Yes.
all of the behind the scenes exclusives that we're going to be laying out and some pretty awesome perks.
Pretty awesome perks. And if you know, that means you'll know when it starts. You can help us make this a success. And we'll know that you were there at the start to support us. And that would mean the world to us. So that's it. We will see you guys Wednesday for another messed up movie.